race helps tell a season's story. From the first green to the final checker. Each moment, a step toward the ultimate prize, a piece of the puzzle. These memories will live forever.
Matt Kenseth wins the biggest race of them all.
They prove fortunes change.
Things continue to come apart for Matt Kenseth.
There are no guarantees.
A season of misery for RCR.
Teamwork triumphs.
Red Bull Toyota is in the chase.
These images,
Kyle Busch in his 4th win of the season,
show how fragile a stay at the top can be.
He goes it. Oh, my God.
And illustrate that age is just a number.
They may call him the old man, but he hasn't forgotten how to win a race.
These stories bring the picture into focus. New faces dot the chase landscape, joined by some who return after an absence.
Casey Kane will secure a spot in the chase.
And while many familiar drivers are back in the spotlight,
Hell yes, boys! Hell yes!
other big names search for answers. The regular season's final snapshots were taken last week, but now the real questions begin. Can an upstart team realize their quest? Is a 4-time champ ready to claim a 5th? Will we see what has never been done?
Jimmie Johnson trying for 4 in a row.
In the end, although the pieces fit perfectly, the puzzle is far from solved. NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, is next on Speed.
And now there are just 12 pieces in this puzzle. 12 drivers, 10 races, and 1 goal. The biggest prize in NASCAR, the Sprint Cup Championship. These are the best of the best. 8 chasers have won, 4 have not, and that could all change today as everyone is chasing the 48. For the past 3 seasons, they have taken the big prize and the big check in a history-making run. And Jimmie Johnson tries to make even more history. The chase is on. You must be rock solid in the Granite State to keep hopes alive. And on this crisp New England day, 300 laps will make the chase picture a little more clear. Today, 103,000 fans will make this the most attended race in the history of this Magic Mile racetrack. So sit down, strap in, and get fired up. The chase is on, and it's race day in Loudon, New Hampshire.
What a crowd, baby! New Hampshire!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, the first chase version of the year. We are down to 10 to go, 12 drivers. Jimmy Spencer here with us, and Hermie Sadler sitting in for Kenny Wallace, who is celebrating his 25th wedding anniversary. So congratulations to Kenny and Kim. We miss you, but Hermie, we're glad to have you with us because this is a big day, man.
JR, when we come to Daytona in February, this is what everybody gets ready for. We want to be in the chase. One of those 12s has got a shot at this title. And look at the storylines we've got. What a job Brian Vickers did getting in last week at Richmond. Juan Pablo Montoya stuck to his guns. He was conservative and consistent. He's in. Can he step it up and be a contender to win? How about Mark Martin? He is now the point leader with 4 wins. A lot of fans would love to see him get championship number 1. Jeff Gordon, he's got 4, but none since 2001. Can he win another one? But Jimmy, I've got to think one of the biggest storylines, the guy that can make history, is Jimmie Johnson going for 4 in a row. Can he do it?
That's the question. And you know what, fans? The last 6 races, only 1 top 10 for that 48 team. Nowhere near what they were in the last 2 previous years coming into this chase. He has to turn it around. Now, he has 5 straight top 10s here at this racetrack. This is the telltale sign. If he is going to establish himself as a 4-time champion, he's going to have to do it today at New Hampshire, Johnny.
Now, the past couple of races, chases that we've come into, there's been some pretty clear-cut favorites. Right now, there might not be such a clear-cut favorite. Let's take a look at the top 6. These are the drivers who have won races.
Yes, but you know what? Tony Stewart, no top 10s in the last 4 races. I'll tell you what, he's not where he wants to be, Hermie.
He is not. And a lot of these guys we'll see today, is momentum more important or knowing what you've been able to do with this racetrack in the past, which of those two will prevail?
Don't underestimate the 11 car, guys. That fourth place, Denny Hamlin, we saw the domination last week at Richmond. He'll be tough today.
Multiple wins among that group. Here are the guys with 1 win or 0 wins so far. 4 of the chasers have not won, but let's remember the last 2 seasons, a chaser that was winless before coming to Loudon actually went on to win the race.
Got to look at these Roush Fenway guys, Jimmy. They have been struggling, hadn't won this year. Can they do it today?
And Diff won last year here. Remember, he started
2 in a
the
row.
year out.
Yeah.
So all in all, guys, this is what we're counting on today. Can you become a serious contender? Because there's only 10 races to decide the champion, baby.
And when it comes to ownership groups, Roush Fenway is the most successful at this Magic Mile in Loudon, New Hampshire. Now let's get you down into the garage area on such a beautiful afternoon here. And we are going to check in with Wendy Venturini after we take a look at last week. What went on. Brian Vickers was able to race his way into the chase, and he is standing by with Wendy Venturini. Wendy?
Thanks, Johnny. Good afternoon to all of you. We miss you, Kenny Wallace, but congratulations to he and Kim, who are renewing their vows this weekend. A great reason to miss this show, and a great reason to have Brian Vickers on today is because we have not talked to you since you raced your way into this chase. Congratulations, because John Roberts predicted you would make it, so we're glad for his sake.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the support, but no, thanks for having me back on. It's good. It's been an unbelievable week. Just a great experience and very busy. I had no idea that our sport was so loved in New York, but that's a great thing, right? I mean, we had so much media, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. just about every day.
All right, we get here to Loudon. You guys obviously had some problems on Friday with that carburetor. Saturday continued to struggle. What can you do? Because we get down to these 10 races, you get to the racetrack. Do you feel like you're behind the 8 ball right out of the box?
With a day like Friday, you definitely do. I mean, we were, right out of the gate, we were having a lot of engine problems. I don't want to blame it on any particular part because we're not really sure exactly what it was. They may know by now, but, just the engine cutting off the entire first practice, not running. And then when you finally do get it fixed, now you're an hour and a half behind everyone else for the rest of the weekend. It's not just Friday. Now you're an hour and a half behind for the rest of the weekend, and that's really a tough thing to overcome. And I really feel like we came around on Saturday. In the start of the second practice, we had a good car. We pretty much made it worse the rest of practice, but we were really good at the start. So we're going to go back to that setup, tweak on a little bit. I think we'll be fine today. We still have our work cut out for us. Obviously not qualifying as well as we wanted to due to all the problems we had Friday, but it doesn't mean we can't overcome it.
But here, on a positive note, we've said this before, you're the driver that's gained the most points in the last 8 races. Hermie Sadler just mentioned. Is it more important to have momentum coming into this chase like your team has right now, or do you look at your past experience at this particular racetrack? What is going to be more beneficial today?
I think momentum and just a strong team right now, in the moment. If we're capable of anything, it's overcoming adversity. That seems like what we've had to do the entire season. Look back to Atlanta. I think focusing on, not necessarily how we performed the first time we were here this year, isn't the best way for us to approach this race, because if we had done that at Richmond, we probably wouldn't be in the chase. We can overcome that, and we can overcome the adversity we had on Friday, but it's going to take a lot of determination, focus, and hard work.
All right, thanks to Brian Vickers. Good luck to him today. Whether it's going to be momentum, Hermie Sadler, as you asked, or the luck coming in today, that's going to be answered later on this afternoon. One thing's for sure, it's 10 races, it's 10 long ones. And since Kenny Wallace is not here, he would do the, can you hold this?
Yes.
10 to go. 10 to go. Thanks, Brian. Hermie?
Except Kenny would say he could count them on one hand.
Yeah, count them on one hand, that's right. Hey, but Wendy, you're right. Brian Vickers, he has turned this table upside down because all the experts, including some of us, said Brian Vickers cannot do it at Richmond. He's not a short track racer. He raced his way in. And listen, since we were back here in June at this racetrack, there's been 9 races. He's got 7 top 10s in the last 9 races. And when he didn't finish in the top 10, Jimmy, he finished 11th and 12th. I don't think they care about what they did in the past. They're doing it right now, and they've got a lot of momentum on their side.
And I agree with this momentum. The drivers will say the momentum is not that important. They're wrong, because momentum means a lot. Immediately when you come to the racetrack, hey, we ran good last week. That's the key. What you did last week, you can build on. You have a bad week, you're not looking forward to coming to the track next week.
This thing ain't easy. You have to have a positive mental attitude to get it done, and nothing makes you more positive than coming back to a place that you've run well before. On this edition of NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, we will hear from all 12 chase contenders and have a couple of surprises along the way, so stay tuned.
With the chase getting kick-started today, we'll grab a few guys racing for the glory. Stewart and Biffle drop in to talk shop and offer a little race insight before the green flag. Straight ahead, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
NASCAR Race Day is built by the Home Depot. Visit homedepot.com. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Brought to you in part by Camping World's Destination Recreation Sweepstakes. Log on to campingworld.com/racing to enter for weekly giveaways. This week, win one of 5 deluxe recliners. And by NASCAR Banking only from Bank of America. Your debit card, your credit card, your driver. Learn more at a Bank of America Banking Center today.
Well, if you decided to stick with the Biff last season, it paid off in a big way as the chase started out. He started out with a win here at Loudon, New Hampshire, and there was no better way to start his run at a championship.
Every position counts here. Every single point can be critical.
10 races isn't anything different. All right, pride on 3. Just like last week. Let's go out here and show them what we're made of.
All right, guys, we know you went here before. We got a good driver. We got to make up a little tune from last week.
Help us to race our absolute best, and we give you the glory for it. I name you for it. Amen. Come on, man, let's go.
The 2008 chase for the Sprint Cup is officially underway.
All right, boys. Give me what you've been giving me all year long. We'll be just fine here.
Oh, boom. I think the sway bar just come unhooked. Wonderful. At this point, it's not loose, Dan, or off. Just a little snug in the middle. 468, got a 75 behind it.
They're going to hold us a lap.
They're supposed to wait for the field to pass when you come out of the pit. What the ever?
He has lost 19 positions in 25 laps.
Long that loose to get going there on the gas or everywhere? I was just a couple laps. Okay, so I ain't got to worry about that too much.
So Junior with a 1.5-second lead on Jimmie Johnson.
Loose. 4. Yeah, you gonna tell me when you gonna do something about it? What you looking at? Talk to me. Make me feel better if I just beat you.
Well, this is pretty impressive. Greg Biffle's run these two down.
Hey, man, doing great. Just what we need. Good job here, bud. Real good job. Looks like this might be enough laps to get us close, buddy. Driving like idiots behind you. Yeah, somewhere where we don't belong. 84 is out of control. The spin at the start-finish line. 84 car. Come low. Come low. There's a bunch of debris right in the middle of the track. Passing it right now. AC just run over it. There you go.
Where did this come from? Man, he just blew right by Johnson. Yeah.
Do I really need to save this fuel? I'm just trying to be prepared for a green-white checker.
He's not going to give up on this thing until the checker flag's waving, I can tell you that. What a good time for this Roush Fenway team and Greg Biffle to get hot. Race number 1 in the chase's history, and Greg Biffle wins it.
I'll tell you something, boys. These boys got problems when we're beating them here. Unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable. Good job, guys. Great job, man. Woo! I forgot how to do this.
And that win for Biffle came 1 year ago, and that was his first win of 2008. Smiles from Greg Biffle, who's joining me right now because we were both watching the video, reminiscing of what a great day that was of racing for you. How much confidence and momentum did that give the team at that time last year?
Well, that gave us huge confidence, you know, and we feel like we're capable of doing that again. The 3M Ford Fusion, you know, Scott car's running good, and we didn't qualify where we wanted to, but our car's running very good, looks good on the lap tracker. It's driving good, that's the good thing. It's probably one of the best driving cars I've had this year, and I'm excited about today.
How much pressure is on you and Carl Edwards for the organization as a whole, just with everyone looking at the performance of 2009 versus 2008, looking at the wins that you guys had as an organization last year? How much pressure is that putting on you?
It's a lot of pressure on us. You know, we want to get Roush Fenway back in victory lane. Everybody's worked very hard. Our engines are running really good. You know, everybody at the chassis shop and engineering is working hard at finding what we're missing, that little piece of the pie. But we run very good in the fall as a team, as a 16 team. So we're excited about hopefully closing that gap up.
How do you think the strategy is going to change this time around as it did 1 year ago when you were in victory lane? How is it going to be different for today?
I hope it's not different. You know, I hope that we do the same thing we did last year. Like I said, I think we're capable of it. We'll just get up there and race with the guys. We've been on the track with the 11, the 5, the 48. We're as good as they are or a little better than some of them, so I think that we have a good opportunity today.
All right, good luck to Greg Biffle today. He'll start 22nd. Now keep in mind, race fans, Greg Biffle has finished in the top 3 in points in both times he's made the chase. It was in 05 and 2008, but he'll start the points today in 12th. Johnny?
Wendy, thanks a lot. You know, there's no lack of statistics when it comes to this chase, but here's one from last season. All of the chase races were won by a chase contender, and over the past couple of years now, since the inception of the chase, Kurt Busch won the first race here, and then he went on to win the championship. No one has ever finished worse than 6th after winning this first race. So, guys, we ask you as drivers, Jimmy and Hermie, how important is it to get off to a good start?
Very important. And Greg brings the point up that last year when they won this race, then they go back at Dover and win that one back-to-back, first time ever done in the chase. What it does is it just changes the whole morale of the team. They haven't won this year, him or his teammate Carl. And everybody, me included, said, I don't think these guys are going to be a factor in the chase. They can change that around today if they have a solid performance. If they don't, they're starting off on a bad note.
Well, I agree completely that how you run today helps your momentum. I don't necessarily agree that how you run today sets the tone for how you'll run for the entire 10 races. Now, Loudon is a flat track, short track. Only 3 of those in the chase. You got here, Martinsville, and Phoenix. Next week at Dover is a higher speed, higher bank racetrack. We got 7 of those types of tracks. So you got to be good on all different kinds, but getting off to a good start, you can't replace that.
So it's probably pretty safe to say that you might not win a championship here today at Loudon, but you could indeed lose one if things go as bad as they possibly can go. But we don't wish that on any of the chasers. You want to stay with us here on NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. This is Mark Martin's best shot at the title, but it also won't be his last. We'll explain. There is only one Sprint Cup, and this year only one driver will take that cup home at the end of the 10-race chase. And when it comes to the 12 drivers that are in this chase right now, you most likely have about 12 different approaches to this chase for the championship. And Wendy Venturini has more on that in this week's Shell Garage Report. Wendy?
Well, thank you, Johnny. No, we all watched as the chase came down to the wire last week. Who was going to be in it? Well, everyone was watching. Some guys like Mark Martin, a guy that had the most wins for the season, obviously will lead the points going into today's race and this final 10-race stretch. Now, his strategy has been consistency. Will that change? Well, this is what Mark Martin had to say in the media center on Friday.
Nobody's going to beat a 5 or 5.5 place finish. You know, anybody that does that for 10 races is going to hold that trophy. I'll be surprised if anyone can do that this year with the way it looks like the contenders are. You know, it's going to be a great race between all 12, I think, and it'll take 5 races. Sure, you're not going to know anything after this race. I'm telling you. If you guys start talking, so and so, that's way you could have a terrible finish and run here and then come back and rebound from it, you know. So it's going to take, you know, 5 races to see, and then when it's 4 races to go, it's going to, you know, get much clearer.
And also on Friday, Mark Martin made that announcement that he will be returning with Hendrick Motorsports for an additional 2 years. That's right, through 2011 for Mark Martin with the sponsor of GoDaddy.com. So Mark Martin will be sticking around through 2011. Now, the other guy that we've talked about is Juan Pablo Montoya in this chase, and his whole theme for the chase going into these final 10 races to get into that chase has been consistency, as JPM likes to call it. Well, will the strategy change for him? I don't think so. Here's Juan in the media center on Friday.
I think the first 5 races, you definitely got to try to get top 10 every week. Maybe, you know, ideally would be top 5s, but you know, I think if you can, you know, get the first 4 or 5 races, a pretty good average, good finishes. And, you know, I think if you get shots to win, you got to take them now. And you always try, but you always try being smart. I think here you can go a little bit more out of control.
And he's been strong all weekend here already. He was fastest in happy hour. He will sit on the pole and start the race from that top spot. Now, he's had 2 poles this season. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get bonus points, Johnny, for getting the pole position. But if you lead that first lap, that's additional points, and that can make a difference when it comes down to the championship.
Wendy, thanks a lot. And just so we can clear up any rumors, there's no truth to the rumor that because it's Mark Martin, the sponsor is going to change to GoGranddaddy.com. That's just not, that's off the table.
Bad, Johnny.
I couldn't resist. Let's take a look at the bonus points. And just to clarify, you get 5 bonus points for leading a lap, 10 bonus points for leading the most laps. And throughout this year, Jimmie Johnson has been the driver of pretty much, obviously, so that has gathered the most bonus points with 130. Mark Martin not too far behind. And Jeff Gordon has been able to get 75 bonus points, and those are huge. If you're not going to go out there and win every race, you certainly can make a big jump by getting the bonus points.
Well, Kyle Busch missed the chase by 8, closest ever. If he leads 2 extra races, he's in the chase. But I want to get back to what Mark said. Mark said that you can't count yourself out if you're 43rd or a really bad finish. I happen to disagree with Mark on that, and I'll tell you why. I saw the 18 car. Man, were they powerful last year. They come in here, they have a sway bar problem, blah, blah, blah. They have a real bad day. They go to Dover, have another bad day. I think it just festers itself to where that wound gets deeper and deeper, and you can't heal it. I disagree with Mark, and I agree with Juan Pablo. I think you have to come in here and say, I have to have top 10s. I have to have top 5s if I can get them. And in turn, honey, that builds that momentum, makes the team tougher when they go to Dover.
Well, I applaud Juan Pablo for coming out, you know, all year long and saying, this is what we're doing to get in the chase. The problem is with having a mindset of, we just want to get top 10s. If you do have a bad race, finish 35th, top 10s are going to take you a long time to catch back up. If you're not able to run up front and win a couple races, it takes a long time to close that gap if you get that bad finish. So I'm not so sure Juan Pablo needs to maybe adjust his mentality a little bit, because if you try to get top 10s, that works if you get top 10s every week. But if you throw a 31st in there, top 10s are not going to get it done.
And also, many people involved in the management structures of these chase teams say there's nothing better than being in the chase when it comes to going out and looking for sponsorship. So there's going to be something positive coming out for all these chasers. But what about the non-chasers? We're going to hear about their plans when we come back.
Just because the final prize is out of reach doesn't mean the non-chase guys have nothing to race for. We'll highlight a few reasons they need to keep the pedal down. Coming at you, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
Welcome back, everyone, to Loudon, New Hampshire. You know, this year, several great race teams came up just short of making the chase. And the question came up when the chase was invented, what about the guys outside of the top of the top 12? Drivers outside the 12 still have a lot to race for, and don't you dare call them second-class citizens.
This is our opportunity to go out and prove that, hey, you know, we didn't make it, but we should have made it. You know, hopefully we can go out there and solidify, you know, our team as being a contender and get some momentum, confidence, and the ball rolling going into next year's 500.
You know, there may be some stuff that we end up trying that we normally wouldn't try, or we're too scared to try, you know, during the season because you didn't want to take a chance of giving up anything. But our approach is going to be the same. You know, go out there and try to win races and run well and finish well. And last year at this time, we couldn't even see where the chase was, how far back we were. So. Everybody at Michael Walker Racing and Aaron, they've done a great job in helping us get to where we are this year. And
we've been trying to get our team stronger. We've been trying to get our cars running stronger for sure. So we're just going to continue to do that, and hopefully we can get on some stuff here and finish the year strong, and you know, hopefully figure out what we're doing a little bit better for next year.
Here at Loudon, New Hampshire, Jeff Burton leads all drivers with 4 victories. He is now on the outside of the chase looking in, and he's standing by with Wendy Venturini. Wendy?
Thanks, Johnny. And of course, that spot in the points is 18th for Jeff Burton. Now, Jeff, you've been on both sides of the fence. Now that we're into these final 10 races, what does the strategy mean for you and your team? Because it almost gives you a sense to test a lot of things out to hit the ground running.
Well, we're certainly going to use this as, you know, the best we can to an advantage. There's no way that we can look at this as a positive thing, but any positive we can pull out of it, we're going to. And, you know, for us, we're able to gamble a little bit more. We're able to test a little bit more without NASCAR's testing policy in place. We're now able to just come here and test and try some stuff and not worry so much about the result, but what we're learning. So hopefully that'll help move us in the direction we need to be in. But, you know, we just want to get back competitive. I mean, no matter if we're racing for points or not, what we want to do is just get back to being competitive.
Now you've been on the inside, and this time, do you go into this chase differently, racing your competitors? Do you cut them a break on the racetrack? How do you race them any differently these final 10?
Well, you know, I think the shining example for that situation was Tony Stewart a few years ago when he didn't make the chase. You know, when he went into it, he said, you know, this is not a good situation to be in, and it's not. You don't want to be in the story. You don't want to be the reason somebody doesn't win the championship unless you just beat them. And that's what our role is to not cause any problems and not be in the way of anybody that's in the chase. But at the same time, I said this before the chase, you know, when we were in the chase, is that, you know, it's my racetrack too. But, you know, we're gonna make sure we're not in the story unless we're beating them. If we go beat the guys and win races, that's the way we want to do it. But we certainly don't want to be involved in any incidences with anybody in the chase.
Well, your experience and the stats speak for themselves here at Loudon with 4 wins. What does that mean to get these final 10 races, get a win under your belt? What would that mean for you today?
Yeah, it would mean a lot. I mean, because we've just not been very close to being in victory lane over the last 2 or 3 months, and that's been frustrating for everybody on the team. Everybody's worked so hard, and, you know, nobody's quit, nobody's given up. The results haven't been there, and you know, that rests on my shoulders too. So we're working hard as a team to get better, and we are getting better. It hasn't shown, but we are getting better, and you know, so what we're trying to do is to take our experience together as a team, because everybody on this team is really good, and just have better results, and we will do that.
Now, you qualified for today's race 32nd, but I have to say, back in 1999 when you won, you started from 38th. So it is doable. How is your race car? How good is it going to be today?
I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. It, you know, I feel pretty good about it. We needed to make it a little bit better. Even though it's not hot by any means today, the track's going to be a lot warmer than it was yesterday. I think it's going to not have near the grip it had yesterday. It was cloudy and really cold. So I think that's going to be a huge factor. But the Cat Chevrolet was really competitive. I felt like we were really good after 4 or 5 laps on a run, and that's important here. You get a lot of long runs here, and pit strategy, you know, dictates where you don't normally come in and get a lot of tires here. So I'm pretty optimistic about today.
All right, good luck to Jeff Burton. And talking to the chase drivers in New York City, Johnny, I get the feeling from a lot of them that they agree with guys like Jeff Burton. There's a lot at stake for these guys because they're going for wins outside of the chase. There's 2 different game strategies being played out on the racetrack for these final 10 races.
Wendy, thanks a lot, and good luck to Jeff Burton out there. So hopefully some good could come out of that for him. But also, Kyle Busch missed this chase this year by 8 points rather, slimmest margin ever missing the chase. Now here we have a situation where one of the best in the business, Kyle Busch, is going out there only, Hermie, for wins and nothing else. We could see this guy go on a tear.
Well, even the guys, you can't put all the guys not in the chase in the same block, because Kyle Busch has certainly had a pretty good season. He was inconsistent, but he won 4 races. But RCR is a completely different story. They had 3 cars in last year, none this year. Now, if I'm Jeff Burton or if I'm one of the sponsors on RCR's car, the only way I'm going to be happy is if my car wins a race this year. They've got to get in victory lane. But I have started to see, Jimmy, they have started to turn the corner. Kevin Harvick had a dominant car at Atlanta, ran good last week, so they are definitely making some changes.
Well, and it's hard to believe, Herman, when you say, what? Childress, no cars in the chase? Incredible. And I agree. That's a shock. But I want to talk about Matt Kenseth not being in the chase, Kyle Busch not being in the chase. What are they going to do? My opinion, I think Roush and Gibbs are going to count on those 2 teams to help the teams that's in the chase. Denny Hamlin all by himself. Don't underestimate that car. Also, the Roush cars struggling all year. The 99 and the 16 going to be tough. If Matt Kenseth can learn something in these practice sessions and stuff, boost Roush Racing, those are going to be the players that will help the chase contenders.
And don't think for 1 minute those guys in the chase, they are some kind of glad that Kyle Busch is not in this chase.
You hit that exactly. A big sigh of relief.
Big sigh.
Can be dangerous. And when they invented this chase format, that was the first thing people said. What about us guys on the outside? And NASCAR said, well, if you want your publicity, go out and win a race. And you can be a winner, too. As well, with Bank of America, NASCAR Banking gives fans the opportunity to earn race points with their debit and credit cards. Race points can be redeemed for all kinds of things, from racing merchandise to home electronics. For more information, go to bankofamerica.com/race points. And who will be on the money today? We will find out, as one way to start this chase off with a bang, and that's to get a win on this beautiful, crisp New England afternoon. There is hardly a cloud in the sky. Welcome back, race fans, to Loudon, New Hampshire and NASCAR Race Day. Last time the Sprint Cup Series came to Loudon, we witnessed history. In the pouring rain, a young driver from Middletown, Connecticut became Sprint Cup's youngest winner.
This is one of those kind of murky days. We're not going to have a whole lot of sunshine. Rain could be a factor. Is anybody going to play the weather game?
Everybody's ready to race, man. I've never seen guys warm their tires up so much in my life.
Everybody's expecting a little bit of rain. People are going to try to stay up front as much as possible here.
It's going to be a little rain coming probably at some point. We're going to wait it out and hopefully be up front when it happens.
Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon about to lead the field to the green. They head down the front stretch and take the green flag.
Gordon giving absolutely no ground on the top side of the racetrack. They take that top spot away from Stewart.
You know, we're pretty damn good.
Here they go for the lead off of turn 2. Kurt Busch to the inside of Jeff Gordon.
And two-car, if he pushes me up out of the groove, he better make sure he does it all the way because he's not going to make the next corner.
Clouds starting to darken a little bit here. I know that's going to play into the mindset of these crew chiefs and these drivers.
But I can't come off the corner to save my life. I'm just sideways. The racetrack's a little damp here. I mean, we got that light mist, so just hang in there.
Trouble in turn 2. 2 cars tangling in the process.
Joey Logano with a flat left rear tire brings out the caution flag.
He just freaking, like, what the hell?
Trouble. Martin Truex is trying to collect several cars.
Don't normally see this kind of accident at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Wow. That was a damn mess right there watching on TV. We definitely know who the one car's mad at. That would be the 18.
Joey Logano got the lucky dog free pass under this caution. It's go time for all these drivers.
Tony Stewart races to the inside of Jeff Gordon. Your new leader is Tony Stewart.
You got rain coming on the way too, so just keep gigging for everything you got.
At some point, very, very soon, the leaders are going to have to make a green flag pit stop.
3, 2, 1, right here. 4 tires of gas, guys. Nice and full.
That's only a couple of seconds that he got hung up on that right front, but that's 5 spots.
Go, clear, clear. Get it.
Ryan Newman now is being shown as the race leader.
About 14 laps till we pit. The rain's real close. 10-4, we save fuel. You can do that. I don't know how to run like hell, old man. I'm out of fuel. I'm coming in. I'm out of fuel.
Ryan Newman now on the pit road. He is going to surrender the lead. Joey Logano on point, begging for the upset.
Save fuel for me. You got to save fuel. We're good for about 3 to 5 laps there. Stay in front of that too. The 20's going to have to pit. You'll be the leader. There's no way he's got much fuel in that thing. Caution's out. Caution is out.
The rain is here.
How many lucky dogs did he get today? Couple. Keep your fingers crossed. Say a prayer. Go spinning it out now. Racetrack's wet. You ain't kidding.
NASCAR has declared the race official. Congratulations to Joey Logano, the youngest Sprint Cup winner ever.
And that day in history was made. Joey Logano, 19 years old, with that victory. And you were just watching that video again. How sweet it would be to repeat up here in the Northeast in front of sort of a hometown crowd.
Yeah, well, I have to say, this is like a home track for me for sure. Growing up about 2.5 hours away, so it's neat. We'll see. We got the Home Depot Toyota today. We struggled a little bit in practice, just trying to find the right balance with the race car. We're starting in the back, so we'll see. But we overcame a lot last time we were here, so no reason why we can't do it again.
How frustrating is it sometimes when you repeat and come back to these racetracks? You think you got it figured out. You think you got a handle. You come back, the track has changed. The cars are different. How is it for a driver and what goes through your head?
A lot, believe me. There's a lot of things always going on. And this is just a really hard racetrack to get a whole lot. You know, I mean, a lot of times you see the same guys up front running here all the time, and it's hard just to get it right and figure out what you need to do in a race car, figure out what you need your race car to do. There's a lot of things going on, so we tried hard. I think we're going to be working on the Home Depot Toyota all day, and hopefully be there at the end.
I know at the beginning of the season, the goal was to get the 20 car in the top 20 in points for 2009. You've accomplished that the majority of the season. You look like you're on your way to that Rookie of the Year status. So what is the goal? Does it change these final 10 races? Do you try for a top 15 finish in points now?
I don't see why we can't try to do that. Yeah, definitely going to try. I think we can put a good effort at that. If not, just try to gain some momentum for next year, try to make the chase. That's going to be the main goal, is just keep improving like we've been throughout the whole season and keep that deal going.
Okay, when it comes down to Joe Gibbs Racing, obviously Denny Hamlin, the only seed in that chase. So how do you help your teammate out on that racetrack? Can you help him at all?
There's not a whole bunch you can do when you're out there on the racetrack. We'll try, always working together as much as we can. All the crew chiefs working together, drivers trying to talk to each other. So whatever we can do to help, for sure. But at the same time, we still got our goals we got to reach over here.
All right, good luck to Joey Logano. And the same sentiment I hear from a lot of the drivers that have teammates in this chase. You maybe can't work for them all the time, but you definitely don't want to work against them. Johnny?
Wendy, thanks a lot. And that certainly was a history-making day for Joey Logano and the 20 team. Last time we came here was got to go back to 2006 for the last time that the 20 team was not in the chase. But let's take a look at the teams with multiple cars in the chase. Of course, 3 of the 4 Hendrick Motorsports cars are up there. Stewart-Haas Racing has both their cars in there. 2 out of the 5 Roush Fenway cars are in there. And then as we take a look, the most multiple team cars with only 1 car in the chase ever is these 5 right here, Jimmy.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you look back to the other page, I think the shocker, Johnny, is the Haas organization. Never had a car in the chase, 2 cars in the chase. But these single car teams here, buddy, big news. Ganassi the first time in the chase, Joe Gibbs all by himself.
Yeah, these Stewart-Haas cars, the Red Bull car, these guys came in and took spots away from these other guys that had been getting in. And I'm like you, Spence. I think some of these guys, like Denny Hamlin, I think it's almost a good thing that he's the only Gibbs car in that chase right now. He's running the best. He's got the best momentum, and those other guys need to do what they can to try to bring a championship to Joe Gibbs.
Now, if you asked Jeff Gordon a couple years ago, he averaged a top 5 in this chase and still didn't win the championship. His teammate Jimmie Johnson won it. He probably would have rather not have had a teammate in that particular chase. But what do you think? Advantage, disadvantage to having all or at least some of your teammates in the chase?
No, I was at Indianapolis, and when I was in Indianapolis, I was scouring the garage here, and I went over to talk to my buddy Tony. You know what's ironic? Here comes Mark Martin, here comes Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon. They're all converging, talking about what's going on. It's an advantage, Johnny. There's no question in my mind that when all your associates are in the chase, you have that much more information fed to you. Big advantage, Hermie.
It's an advantage for Hendrick Motorsports because we say it all the time, but because Rick Hendrick really, his organization, he makes them do the sharing of information the right way from the first race of the year to the last race of the year. These other guys talk a good game, but when it comes down to it, they're so competitive with each other.
It's bred in them.
But Hendrick Motorsports, it comes down from Rick Hendrick. He makes them open notebook from start to finish, and that's why it works for them.
Now, the rule has come out from NASCAR before. Do not do anything on the racetrack to alter the outcome of a championship chase or a race. But there's still, Jimmy's saying no. It's saying you might want to do that?
Don't alter it. Let's face it. If a guy's going for a win, damn it, he's going to try to win the race. I don't care if the guy's in the chase or not. If Harvick can win a race here today, you better respect his opportunity to win a race, and that's what he's going to do, Johnny. Believe me, he's not going to back down from him.
All right, another guy in the chase, perhaps with the most momentum, is Denny Hamlin right now, coming off a win at his hometown track, and he's standing by with Wendy Venturini.
Thanks, Johnny. And of course, Denny Hamlin comes into this chase 4th in points, the highest points position you come into the chase. So does that give you a little bit more confidence knowing how much momentum you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, we're not starting 70 points behind like we were last year. But I just think it's the competition of the series right now. The wins are definitely spread out amongst some guys, and I'm confident. I definitely think today's going to be a good day.
Now, there's a lot of stories out there for this chase for the championship, a lot of compelling stories. But I think maybe your team's underestimated because you're quietly getting there with these finishes throughout the season. How do you feel about your chances?
I feel really good about them. Hopefully we can start off on the right foot starting today. If we can get a top 6 to 7 finish today, that's going to be right in where we need to be. Next week is also going to need to be a top 6 or 7. So I think the biggest hurdles for us is going to be these first 2 weeks. And as long as we accomplish our goals then I think once we get to Kansas, we can breathe a little easier.
Now, we just spoke to Joey Logano, your teammate. We haven't heard from Kyle Busch. Have you and Kyle talked about how he can help you now that he's outside the chase and you're the one going for the championship for JGR, how your teammate can help you?
Well, I mean, he definitely can in certain situations, but, he's got a sponsor to race for, and Joey does too. So those guys are going to go out there and try to win the race, obviously. But, if they're right in front of us, at the end of the race, maybe we could use that extra 5 or 3 points. So, I'm sure they're going to do everything they can, but they're still, I'm also respectful of them and what they're out here for.
What is the strategy going to be for today? Because it seems like every time we return back to a racetrack with this car, the strategies are changing every weekend.
It is, for sure, and it seemed like the tires held on pretty good there. It's going to be interesting to see how good new tires are and how quick they come in during the race runs today. So I think you'll see a handful of different strategies throughout today. We just got to make sure we keep our FedEx Toyota up front.
All right, congratulations on a great start. And getting into that chase for Joe Gibbs Racing, Denny Hamlin will start 4th today. And it's interesting that Denny said that a finish of 6th or 7th will get him good. Is started into this chase, Johnny, because we heard from Mark Martin who says 5th or 6th. So they're right around the same area of what these guys think a solid finish would mean when we leave here in Loudon.
Wendy, thanks a lot. You know, Denny Hamlin hasn't been in every chase, but every year he's competed in Sprint Cup competition, he has made the chase. Now, before there was a Hendrick, a King, and Smoke, there were many pioneers in this sport, and we'll meet some of them a little later on in the show. Getting close to noon here at Loudon, New Hampshire. That means it's almost lunchtime. And man, Spence, that looks good.
Oh, you never could beat a guy grilling food. I've got to go down there, Johnny. I'm going to take a break.
All right, now Spencer's going to go get a burger, but right now we're going to take a look at qualifying highlights from Friday afternoon. And Jimmie Johnson, as he goes for the four-peat, qualified 16th. He's been very successful on this racetrack before, including a season sweep a couple years back. So don't worry about that starting position if you're out there as a Jimmie Johnson fan.
Yeah, but here's the fan sentimental favorite. This guy's finished second in the championship 4 times. Mark Martin, he will start 14th in the old CarQuest Kellogg Chevrolet. But you know what? Here's the guy that I think is going to be the shooter at the championship. He'll start 4th in the old FedEx Toyota, Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, we look at Tony Stewart here. He qualified second. A lot of questions coming into this race. Could Tony get back on track? He qualified up front, and he's got that track position to start today. But the fastest big red car all weekend has been Juan Pablo Montoya. He qualified up front. He's led all the practice sessions, but he does not yet have a top 10 finish here. He needs to change that today.
As we take a look at where all the top 12 drivers are starting, what about Juan Pablo Montoya? He was fastest in every practice session, all 3 practice sessions. He was fastest. Then he goes out there and gets the pole. So, guys, it looks like Juan Pablo is good from the start, just has to be good at the end.
That's the key. And we haven't talked a whole lot about this car, Kurt Busch. He was 3rd in practice and all that kind of stuff. Don't ever underestimate that guy, Johnny.
And once he won this race, went on to win the championship.
Yeah, but got to look at Brian Vickers, of the guys who made the chase. He snuck in last week at Richmond, starting 26. He's got a long road to hoe today. He can't give up a lot of points to all these guys.
All right, there have been fireworks recently on the Camping World Truck Series, and if you were with us on Speed yesterday, you saw a great modified race, and it was followed up by this beating and banging going on between owner and driver.
Yeah, you know, this is a big controversy here because, you know, you hear Harvick in the 2 truck here saying, hey, I need some help from Harvick. I need some help from Hornaday, his driver. So Harvick owns both trucks. Fans, why is he upset? Because if it was anybody else, I believe old Kevin would have put a little rub to him there, but he can't rub his own truck there. But, you know, look at this, fans. Kyle Busch wins this race, but there's Harvick and Hornaday getting it on.
Yeah, a little bit confusing there. Harvick, you know, basically wanted Hornaday to give him a little room to try to chase down Kyle Busch for the win, but that's the very reason Harvick hired Hornaday, was to race for every spot.
Yeah, but I also think that the thing is Harvick wanted to see a Chevrolet win, Johnny. I think that was the big thing, and I think that's what people's missing over Harvick, and I agree with him. He's trying to protect Chevrolet.
Well, Hornaday was able to extend his lead over Matt Crafton, 217 points right now. Hornaday looking very good right now as they are heading into yet another championship run.
They're heading to my favorite city next week, baby.
What is your favorite city, Jimmy Spencer?
Lost Wages.
And you know who also likes Las Vegas? Bruton Smith.
Oh, yeah.
He loves Las Vegas, and we'll probably see Bruton out there not too long from now, but we want to remind you, Saturday on Speed, the world's fastest trucks roll the dice in Sin City as Hornaday, Crafton, and Skinner take their heated title battle out west. Find out who can dominate in the desert when the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series invades Las Vegas. Live Saturday at 9:30 Eastern Time, NASCAR on Speed. Be there. He's won 2 titles. Now he's going it alone. Can he be the first owner-driver champion since '92? Smoke is coming up. "26 down, 10 to go, and the chase is on in Loudon, New Hampshire on this beautiful, crisp, clear New England day. We got the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup on among 12 of the nation's best drivers. Actually, the world's best. Jimmie Johnson has won 3 straight Cup titles, and he is poised for a 4th as they are ready to go as always. Mark, the Kid Martin, is also the sentimental favorite, coming in with 4 victories. He is now the top seed in the chase. But all the rest of the chase drivers are poised to make their run at the 2009 Sprint Cup champion, because there is a matter of a big title, bragging rights, and also about $5 million in bonus money at the end of this whole chase in these 10 races. Let's take a look at the standings. Mark Martin, by virtue of his 4 wins, is on the top of the top 5. Tony Stewart, Jimmie Johnson, Hamlin, and Casey Kane are among those 5 with multiple wins so far this season. Now, the drivers with 1 win or no wins. There are 4 drivers who have not visited victory lane yet this year. Carl Edwards, Ryan Newman, Juan Pablo, and Greg Biffle. That could all change today, but that makes them the lower seeds in this 2009 chase. Now, every driver has something different they are looking at as they head into this chase, and Kasey Kahne keeps getting questions that just so happen to not pertain to the chase.
There's not a lot of answers out there right now. I don't know if it's because we're in the middle of a lot of things, or if we just don't have a person in that position. I think Robbie Loomis is supposedly going to be that guy, but I don't think he is yet. So is it Foster, but you can't get anything out of Foster. So it's hard to say, who that is. And I think it's because we're in a lot of different things right now. But when you're in things, you still need to keep your team and your guys, your company behind you, knowing what's going on. And we don't have that. So hopefully we get it soon. I think the sooner we get that, the better off everybody will be.
Yeah, I tell you, Kasey Kahne really handled that very professionally. And I talked to Kasey a little bit yesterday. What happens, fans, on the race weekend, all the chase drivers have time with the media and get questions. And Kasey said, all the other guys were answering questions about, congratulations on being the chase. Can you win this? Can you win that? All good, positive vibes. And he was getting questions about everything with the organization. What's wrong with the organization? Who's in charge? What manufacturer are you going to run? Are you going to switch to Ford this year or next? He said it's just frustrating to not be able to talk about the task at hand. But one thing he's got going in his favor, he loves his crew chief, Kenny Francis, and he says, with Kenny Francis and I, we've got an ability, once the green flag drops, to block all that out and focus on winning. So until I see him struggle on the racetrack, I'm not counting Kasey Kahne out of this chase.
I agree with you, Hermie. I think that when you come to a focus of a driver and you want to talk about a driver that focus, it's Kasey. We saw Kasey at Atlanta get grit down knowing that he had to beat that 29 car, goes through the corner flat. I mean, he does what it has to do. He doesn't need all these distractions. And I blame the Petty organization. Petty organization has to get somebody in control here. You're seeing the teams not getting along with one another. That definitely disrupts Kasey. He's going for a championship. You need to get somebody, get this stuff straightened out and focused, and let him not be talking about that stuff, but talking about how great his Dodge Budweiser car is and he can win this chase.
Now, Kurt Busch is another driver that has some off-track issues going on right now, but he was the first guy ever to win in this chase format, and that was back in 2004. In 2009, as you take a look at comparable stats, maybe not as good as his championship season, but nonetheless, even with his crew chief already announcing that he's going somewhere else next year, Kurt Busch is trying to focus on winning yet another chase championship.
I like when you get into the heated moments and you toss back and forth, and nobody gets their feelings hurt. That's the kind of guy that I like because he knows that I have that fire and desire to win, and I know he's got it too. And then when you get back to the office on Tuesday, it's like, hey man, how's it going? It's like, all right, yeah, everything's cool. And you want to just move on to the next task at hand. So it's not going to be as difficult, I think, to find the right guy as it has been in years past, just with the experience level and the different guys I've worked with over the years.
Now, crew chief Pat Tryson has said he will go to Michael Waltrip Racing next year. For more on that situation, let's go back to Wendy Venturini.
Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, the announcement was finally made that Pat Tryson will be going to Michael Waltrip Racing as the crew chief for the number 56 with Martin Truex come 2010. Now, what does that mean for the remaining 10 races? Well, obviously a championship is at stake here. However, there are some things going on with the two-team around Pat Tryson, the crew chief, where he's not allowed into the race shop at Penske Racing any longer. So he's here at the racetrack, he's calling the races, he's here for practice. That was a request from Kurt Busch regarding him being able to be here at the racetrack and help Kurt on these race weekends. So no change with Pat Tryson. He remains the crew chief. However, he just is not allowed inside the doors of Penske Racing for the remaining of the year. And that has to do with note sharing and letting those notes outside the building. And they've made it very clear on some of those situations. But that's a tough one. And there's always drama in every race team. We've heard Kasey talk about the situation he's dealing with at his race team. There's a story behind all of these guys, behind the crew chiefs, behind the drivers, and it definitely disrupts your chances at the chase. Maybe not your chances, but disrupts the momentum you have going into these final 10 races. Jimmy, I don't know how this is going to affect Kurt Busch. How is it going to affect Pat Tryson making those calls on that pit box? Hopefully we don't see a change, but we do know there are some things behind closed doors that could potentially cause a factor in this championship this season.
Well, Wendy, you bring up a point about the whole organization. Now, it's really interesting you say that Pat's not allowed in there. That is not a good way to have your crew chief not being in the shop and then try to win a championship. The problem with Kurt Busch is he's a thoroughbred, man, and a thoroughbred is hard to deal with. You have to have skin as tough as leather, and you got to take the abuse he gives you, but you got to be able to dish it out at the right time. I would much rather have a driver like Kurt Busch. I'm controlling Kurt Busch, and I'll handle my crew, because it's a whole lot better to have a guy that you say, whoa, 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 calm yourself down here a little bit. You can straighten him out. Then to say, come on, boy, you got to pick it up. Kurt Busch is the type of driver that I like to see drive a race car because he never wants to lose. I like that attitude in the guy, so you got to get the right guy with him. A tough-skinned guy. I'll handle the job. Hire me, Roger.
I have the utmost respect for Roger Penske and the things he's accomplished in NASCAR and otherwise, but I just don't think they're handling this exactly right.
No.
The crew chief on that car needs to be in the shop massaging that car each and every day. How can he call the race and make changes on the car when he gets to the racetrack if he's not 100% sure that the guys in the shop are carrying out his wishes if he's not in there? I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Yeah, clearly you need a dude for that job who's going to have thick skin, is going to be able to handle a lot of pressure. And any guy sitting on top of any pit box in the Sprint Cup Series has a lot of pressure. When we come back, we're going to hear from some of the pioneers of the sport as we head into the first ever Hall of Fame class. Stay with us.
He may not reach 200 wins, but Jimmie's got a chance to do something no one's ever done. How does he like his odds for a chase for Pete?
I feel that our chances are as good this year as really any other year. I think our cars have been faster through the summer stretch, and a lot of things have been going right.
Wendy goes to the Big Apple to get the scoop. Heading your way. NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
Special guest Mike Helton will join the gang on This Week in NASCAR on Monday. The NASCAR president discusses the chase, the car of tomorrow, and the sport in general. Does the chase need tweaking? We'll ask Mr. Helton. You don't want to miss This Week in NASCAR, Monday at 8 Eastern, only on Speed. And also, we continue our search for NASCAR's most colorful fan and our most colorful on-air guy at Speed. At times is Rutledge Wood, so he's the perfect man for the job.
You know, the further north the races get, the further south Canadians get. So Right Turn Ryan here found some friends of ours from the north.
Rutledge, this week I've been hanging with these folks. They drove 9 hours in this bus, and they are loud and proud and from Canada.
Riding in the Bluebird, heading south is our man Ed. Ed, welcome to these United States of America.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You come every year?
Every year down here.
And how, you just bring your friends down?
Yeah, the 8 of us come down here every fall.
It's good
Love
times.
it down here, love NASCAR.
They're loud, they're proud, and they're colorful, and this weekend they're our most colorful fans.
Is there a little extra color on the tips of Rutledge's hair? Or that just might be frost?
It's
very
Halloween, not far from Halloween. What do you think?
Not at the track this weekend. Make sure you check out all of M&M's Most Colorful Fans at NASCAR.com/mostcolorfulfan. You can help decide who will be crowned this year's Most Colorful Fan of NASCAR by voting for your favorite colorful fan during the photo playoff.
I love M&M's.
Now, we recommend that on October 14th, you turn your TV to Speed and keep it there all day long. We'll have wall-to-wall coverage of the Hall of Fame induction nominees. As we've had the nominees, we've heard who's going to be in there, but we're going to find the 5 drivers and whoever else in NASCAR will go into the Hall of Fame. But right now, let's take a look back at some of the pioneers of NASCAR.
It was the late 1930s, and stock car races were random one-time events run on dirt tracks across the South. When World War II erupted, a nation of racers went to war. 2 of those men were driver Robert "Red" Byron and his car owner, Raymond Parks.
Went in the service and stayed about 3 years. And when we got back out, started all over again, back in the stock car race.
Raymond Parks brought unprecedented organization to stock car racing, becoming NASCAR's first successful team owner. Red Byron overcame a shattered left leg suffered in the war to become NASCAR's first champion in 1948 and 49.
He approached it from a little higher plane than most of the drivers there, trying to analyze how everything was going to work.
Along with car builder Red Vogt, Red Byron and Raymond Parks reinvented the concept of a racing team. Herb Thomas is a NASCAR pioneer who has found a new generation of fans thanks to the reanimation of the fabulous Hudson Hornet.
The checkered flag. Herb Thomas wins his third Southern 500. Truly a remarkable performance.
Thomas drove the Hudson Hornet to championships in 1951 and 53. Lee Petty was the patriarch of NASCAR's royal family. In 1959, he won the very first Daytona 500.
Petty in number 42 Oldsmobile, Beauchamp in number 73 Thunderbird in a showdown race, pasted together at 135 miles an hour.
What they'll never be able to take away from Lee Petty is the fact that he won the very first inaugural Daytona 500. The historians, even 100 years from now, can look back and look at 1959, and when they do, it's going to have Lee Petty as the winner of the Daytona 500. Well, that by itself was significant, I think.
He was my hero, okay, because he took so little of money and so little of a car and won races with it.
He was one of those guys that he didn't just say, go put in it whatever you think. Lee called the shots on his car.
You can't have a conversation about NASCAR without talking about the Petty family. And here was the first Petty family member that was successfully participating.
In a career that started with NASCAR's first strictly stock race, Lee Petty captured 54 checkered flags and 3 championships.
Didn't Spencer drive one of those Hudson Hornets? I think so. Wednesday, October 14th, coverage starts at 10 a.m. It is only on Speed, the first class announcement for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And we'll be back, hopefully, to put a little class in this TV program when we come back. There's one of the fastest guys anywhere this weekend is Juan Pablo Montoya. We'll be back.
Welcome back to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot here in Loudon, New Hampshire. The air is brisk and the tension's high as the chase is well underway. Jimmie Johnson's going for that 4-peat, but he's got a lot of competition, one of them being Juan Pablo Montoya, who starts from the pole today at Loudon. And right next to him will be Smoke, Tony Stewart, starting on the outside front row. Now, Tony Stewart led the points for 13 consecutive weeks before we reseeded, and now you're sitting pretty still in points, Smoke. But as we go into these final 10 races, how does the strategy between you and Darian Grubb change?
Well, I think this week you got to go about it business as usual. Obviously, when you get down to 3 or 4 weeks left in the season, then that strategy changes a little bit when you know what the scenarios are. But right now we got to just go out and try to win the race today. There's a lot of good chase cars that were fast in practice, so strategies go out, lead a lap, and go out and win the race. And if we can lead the most laps doing it, great.
It sounds like consistency is going to pay off over the wins in the chase, because in 2005, obviously, you won the championship without winning a race in that chase. How important is that to you?
Well, I don't think winning a race is important as winning the championship. So, if I had a choice of winning 5 races or winning the championship, I'd take the championship any day. But, there's no blueprint on exactly how to win this championship. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. There's 12 guys that 2 or 3 of them may not even have a bad week in the equation, or all of us could have a bad week in the equation before the 4th race. So, you just got to take it 1 week at a time and analyze where you're at after the race is over. But, today being that first race, you just got to go all out and get everything you can get.
Now, you've been in this position before, but the thing that's different this time around is being an owner and a driver. How is this chase feel different to you versus what you were in the 20 car with Greg Zipadelli and the 20 team?
It really doesn't feel much different. I mean, it's the goal's still the same, and I still got to do the same job behind the steering wheel that I've always done. And the great thing is I got Tony Gibson on my side and Darian Grubb on the crew chief side, and we got Bobby Hutchins, who's our competition director, who's leading the charge. So it lets me focus on being a driver like I enjoy.
Now, when you came out of that 2005 championship, going into 2006, you didn't make the chase, but you went on to win a ton of races in that chase. We've talked to guys outside the chase like Jeff Burton, Kyle Busch. Talk about what it's like to be in that position, and how do you race those guys differently? Do you expect them to race you now that you're in the chase this season?
Well, you can't expect them to do anything. They got to run their race, but you have to take care of yourself. I mean, we're responsible for ourselves, so you can't expect them just to lay over. They still got a race. They still got sponsors, and some of these guys are still trying to get their deals set for next year. So you can't ask them to do something different. I mean, just because they didn't make the chase doesn't mean that they relinquish their right to race for the wins every week. So that's part of being smart. The next 10 races is having to take care of ourselves and do what's right for us.
All right, good luck to Tony Stewart here in Loudon. He has 2 wins, and of course, he would love to rewrite the history books as another owner-driver to get a championship, as Alan Quickie did that back in the 90s. Johnny?
Wendy, thanks a lot. And of course, Tony is the only guy to win a championship outside the chase and inside the chase. This guy has won 3 championships inside the chase. Jimmie Johnson, there you see his race car, and he is the real deal this week, and that is coming up next. But we want to remind you that next Friday on Speed, NASCAR's championship heads to Delaware for race number 2 of the chase. Nobody covers the action for the Monster Mile like Speed. Live coverage from Dover begins Friday at 11 Eastern, and we'll wrap everything up with Trackside Friday night, so be there. Here in Loudon, New Hampshire, Jeff Gordon's Drive for 5 is still alive, but there are other chasers who want to spoil that party, including Denny Hamlin, last week's winner, and he is looking for championship number 1. And every year that he has competed in this Sprint Cup Series, he has been in the chase. Now, here's an amazing number for you. Jimmie Johnson has run 50 chase races. Out of those 50 races, he has won 14. And Wendy Venturini, I think that makes us all agree that Jimmie Johnson is the real deal when it comes to championships.
He sure is. Of course, he's going for 4 championships in a row as the team gets him prepared on the starting grid. There's a lot of compelling stories for 2009. Will it be Mark Martin? Will it be Jeff Gordon? Will it be Jimmie Johnson going for 4 in a row? Well, we caught up with the man in New York City at the London Hotel on the 43rd floor, high above New York City, to check out his chances and his thoughts as we go into the final 10 race race. Here's the real deal. Well, Jimmie, first off, so goes another regular season in. Here we are in the chase, a place that you've been to many times. How do you feel about your chances on a 4th shot at a championship?
I truthfully feel good. I feel that our chances are as good this year as really any other year. It's been an exciting regular season with big wins at Indy and some other great victories that we had, and some that got away too, but we're doing well and looking forward to the chase.
How is this chase different?
Every year is different. Every experience is different, and I'm not sure what to expect going into the chase. I haven't seen a team really separate themselves and be a clear favorite. There's a lot of good going on a lot of teams. So I'm kind of under the impression it's going to be a gunfight to the end. It's really going to be a tough battle.
There's a lot of compelling stories out there. I mean, you have you going for 4th championship, a drive for 5 for Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin's first at his age, Tony Stewart as an owner-driver. Which one is the most compelling story in your mind for a champion?
Clearly, I'm going to say mine is the most compelling. Have a shot at history like we do would be amazing. But you look at those situations, and you look at some of the guys that are in the chase for the first time, teams and mergers that have gone on, and the challenges a lot of teams have had. It's a very interesting year this year, and I think a NASCAR fan's dream. There's a lot of great stories.
3 championships, 11 guys trying to knock you guys off the top. Do you feel like you have a target on your back?
I really don't, mainly because it's a new year, and what we did last year was great, and the year before was great, but it doesn't mean anything for now. You've got to perform today. We have to perform over these next 10 weeks. It's a new year and new circumstances, so we'll buckle down and see. I think that winning championships and being in the chase helps you because you've been there, done that. You have the experience of dealing with pressure, or succeeding or failing for that matter is still a great experience to go through. So I think there is some help there, but it doesn't guarantee anything.
It's only 10 races, but that's a long 10 races. Every mile seems like 10 miles. Why is that?
I know what I feel, and I'm not sure why. Climbing the car in Loudon for the first practice, and a switch is flipped, and it's like, wow, this is it. Worked all year to be in this position. You try, and there are times where you can block it out, but at some point during the day, the thought goes through your mind, I could be the champion. And it starts. And when that thought goes through your mind, your whole body, it's like when you think of, when you think of something where your adrenaline kicks in and all the hair stands up on your body, that runs through your system. And it does something to you where all day long you think about that and you feel it, and you're like, okay, here we are. So it makes every minute slower, it makes every mile slower, and you're just focused on what you're doing.
But it seems like you almost have to tunnel that adrenaline to not let it overcome you, to stay focused in the moment.
It's tough, and it affects your decision-making process, your effort level, kind of. Because it's so easy to overdrive these cars, and in a lot of cases, it's easy to over-adjust, over-strategize, and to find the sweet spot and to really have the whole team hitting where they need to is a bit of an art. And the last 3 years, we've done a good job of it, and hopefully we can do it again a fourth.
All right, 10 weeks from now, what would a fourth championship mean to you, Jimmie?
I have no idea what it would mean. I know how special the last 3 years have been, and to be a part of history with Cale, and to win a fourth and be the only man that's done it would be off the charts. Hopefully I can experience that.
Does the feeling start to overcome you when you start to think about it?
I haven't really let it in yet. You know, it's too early. I will not be able to dodge those feelings if we have a chance at it, if we have a shot at it, come Phoenix or Homestead, wherever that is. So I look forward to that moment and hope that I experience it.
I think it was a good look at what's going through Jimmie Johnson's head as he goes for a fourth championship in a row. Now, of course, there's a lot of guys that are factored into this chase for the championship. And as Jimmie Johnson mentioned, Johnny, I don't think there's a clear favorite this year like there has been in years past. Nobody is standing above the rest on the competition level. So this is going to be a true battle in this final 10-race shootout.
Yeah, Wendy, let's hope when we go down to Homestead, we have maybe 5 or 6 guys still with a shot at this thing. That would be very exciting. But take a look at the numbers for Jimmie Johnson in the chase. They are absolutely phenomenal. 50 races, he has won 14, but he has top 5s 26, top 10s 36, over 2,000 laps led. And all of those categories, Jimmy Spencer and Hermie Sadler, lead all drivers in the chase. So when it comes to this chase format, no one has done it better than Jimmie.
Well, if there's such thing as a 3-time champion being an underrated driver, Jimmie never seems to get the credit he deserves. The credit goes to the team, and, you know, like he's driving good equipment, but all that's true. But the reason why nobody else has ever won 4 in a row because they're daggone hard to win. Yep. And he and Chad Knaus have just got a knack of stepping up when it's time to step up, Spence.
Well, I think if you look overall this year, you say, yeah, there is no clear-cut favorite. And definitely Jimmie Johnson's no clear-cut favorite. The last 6 races, only one top 10. The thing is, they made a lot of mistakes this year. That's behind us. Today is a new day. You only got 10 races. I think that team has shown in the past they forget what's happened in the previous 26. That's the advantage that team has. And there's something about Jimmie Johnson that is overrated. When it comes time, crunch time, he seems to be able to crunch that nut and get the job done.
All right, well, Jimmie Johnson's teammate, Jeff Gordon, is clearly one of the greatest drivers ever with 4 championships, but he still has yet to win one inside of the chase. And if he can get it done this year, he says he'll look at his 5th championship a little bit differently.
The only thing that I really feel is because it's such a drastic change that even if we win the championship this year, I don't think you can count it as 5. I think you count it as 1, and you count the other as 4. You know, it's separated. It's just, you know, to me, the history is changed. How you go about the championship, how you know, who's crowned as a champion is totally different. And so I think it's more challenging than it's ever been, very competitive, and extremely exciting to see 12 guys going for it over 10 races in a playoff type system. I think it's where our sport needs to be.
You know, you look over the records and you look over all the years of racing. Here, Jeff Gordon, 29 races at this racetrack, 11th place average finish. It's absolutely incredible. The thing is, he has the temperament that when somebody starts to push and shove, he backs out. I remember in Martinsville watching Jeff Burton pounding and knocking the hell out of him. And you know what? Gordon says, go ahead, dude. And then, you know who wins? The 24. He can win his 5th championship this year. And I'm going to tell you, Letarte has done a great job this year. And I think that when all the smoke clears, that Jeff Gordon, going into Miami, will be a factor in this thing.
I think, Jimmie, this is his best opportunity in quite some time. You know, last year they just didn't have the speed. They just didn't have it on a weekly basis. But they have shown signs this year. And in this format, it's all about just putting 10 together. And Jeff, for all these years that Jimmie's won the championship, Jeff's done the company line. I'm happy for Jimmie. I'm the owner. I call baloney on that. Jeff Gordon wants to win the championship.
Yeah, once you win one, it's hard to accept anything else.
Bologna sandwiches, him and his brother both.
Yes, right. Bologna, fried bologna sandwich.
I love them.
All right, that's a whole different story for another day. We got to take a quick break here, but when we come back, this is some serious horsepower on the racetrack right now, and we'll see some more as the Budweiser Clydesdales on this beautiful day. And how about the doggy? Let's not forget the doggy. Roar.
Hungry for drama? We've got a heapin' helping of chase storylines. chock full of championships, first-timers, and redemption. And we'll serve it up at no extra charge. Around the Turn, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
Want to learn more about NASCAR's new car of tomorrow? Go to the Advance Auto Parts virtual cutaway car on speedtv.com. And if you're going to waste time at work surfing the internet, you might as well learn something, right? Go to speedtv.com and check out our Advance Auto Parts virtual cutaway car. Now, one mistake you don't want to make if you're in the chase or even if you're out is speeding on pit road. And as part of our Advance Auto Parts explanation, Hermie Sadler is behind the wheel once again, showing us just how drivers can avoid making that crucial mistake.
Well, thank you, JR. Remember back at Indy earlier this year, we saw Juan Pablo Montoya get a speeding penalty on pit road and lose the race. Well, let's talk a little bit about how NASCAR and the drivers figure out what pit road speed is. First of all, we don't have speedometers in these cars. This is a tach, an old-style analog tach. What happens when the cars go on the racetrack behind the pace car, once the pace car gets to pit road speed, the lights come on. They turn the lights on top of the caution car, and you read the tachometer. It's probably going to be about 4,500 RPMs in second gear. That's how you set your RPMs. Well, NASCAR and the teams have taken it one step further. Now, instead of the driver coming down pit road having to keep his eye on the tach and keeping it at 45, they come out with this new tach that's actually got a series of LED lights that light up on the tach. It'll start off yellow as you get close to the zone to 4,500 or your pit road speed. Once you're in the zone, it turns green. If you go over these last couple of dots, it'll turn red. Same idea as the law coming down now saying you cannot text or phone call while you're driving down the road. They want the drivers to keep their eye on pit road and the competitors, so through your peripheral vision, you can see these lights light up on the tach and not exceed pit road speed. So very important today. You want all the speed you can get, but you don't want to go over. That's how the driver does it. Next week at Dover, JR, we'll talk about how NASCAR monitors it on pit road and how they catch some of these guys speeding.
Hermie, thanks a lot. It's not like the old days with the stopwatch, but now, Jimmy, let's take a hot lap around Loudon, New Hampshire, as we ride with Jeff Gordon. He's one of only 4 drivers to compete in all 29 races here, so nobody better to ride with.
And what I like about New Hampshire fans, look, this place looks flat. Well, it's not. There's 12 degrees of banking in these corners. The key right there, getting off of these corners. You have long straightaways. You have to get off the corner to carry the speed. Heavy braking at this point. Get that baby down to the bottom of the racetrack. The yellow line is the bottom, but right now he's evidently on older tires running through the center of the racetrack. The key here, Hermie, getting that thing up off the corner straight as you can to that straightaway.
Yeah, this is a 1-mile racetrack, as we all know, but it drives a lot like a short track. You want to get off the corner, off the accelerator, get the car turned, and you're right, make the speed from right here back to the gas. That's why you want to get under somebody to make a pass between coming off the corners to middle way of these straightaways.
And we saw the truck race yesterday, the 2 truck of Kevin Harvick, get right down there on the bottom. He could not roll the center of the corner, right there. You have to really roll the center of the corner and put the throttle down. Yesterday, you and I were talking. The 48 car really is strong. Yeah. He can roll that center of the corner. That's going to be critical.
Yeah, we saw, I mean, watching practice, we've got 20, 25 cars running basically the same speed with each other. But Jimmie Johnson, this is what they worked on in practice yesterday, getting to the bottom of the racetrack and passing people and having that forward bite.
Impressive, Ken. I'm sorry, Kenny. Impressive.
Hey, I'll answer to Kenny.
And the big thing here, fans, is why that is important. If you can roll the corner, get to the throttle quicker, get to that throttle just a split second quicker, you're going to be carrying more speed as you enter that straightaway.
Hey, one of the sayings in racing that'll be very prevalent today, it's one thing to catch somebody, it's another thing to pass them. Jimmie showed in practice he can pass. We'll see if that comes to his favor today.
And that brings us to track position. Remember last time we raced here, Tony Stewart had one of his pit crew members drop a lug nut that was only about 4 seconds on the pit road, but it was also about 5 or 6 positions on the racetrack.
Yeah, and Johnny, you bring a point up that is really good. When you watch these guys lose, say, 5, 6 spots of pit road, oh, that's not bad. Well, maybe it's not quite as bad at Charlotte or Texas, something like that, maybe Atlanta. Here it is. These guys quickly get single file. The big thing about getting single file here is you've got 3-4 second deficit between first and 5th, 6th. That is the problem I see when you lose positions here.
And the other thing here, some of these teams may only pit about 3 times. You've got 3 times to make up spots. If you make a mistake on pit road, you don't have 5 or 6 more stops during the course of the day to make it back up. So every stop is much more important.
Another thing about New Hampshire, I like to talk about this, great pit road. Good place to get on, good place to get off. They got that access road. I love New Hampshire's pit road. No problems today for the drivers there.
That's a tough thing about being one of the pit crew members. You never get your name mentioned, or you never get the isolation camera on you until you screw up, until you mess something up. So then you're all over the place. But our Kyle Petty is all over the place. But today he's talking about those other 31 drivers. Once again, you better not call them second-class citizens. And any of the 43 drivers out on the racetrack today has something they're racing for. Let's get the good stuff.
Hi, I'm Kyle Petty, here with your Napa Good Stuff. All right, this week I'm going to talk about chase drivers versus non-chase drivers and how they race. So much is made about being in the chase, having a shot at the championship. Those guys are racing for points. They've got to be careful. They got to watch what they do the whole time. Non-chase drivers, they're letting it all hang out. And the difference is this. You've got guys like Kyle Busch. You got guys like Kevin Harvick. You got guys like Jamie McMurray. He's looking for a ride. He's got to impress people in these last 10 or 12 races or 10 races to be able to get something. You got these other guys, they just want to add wins. That's all it's about, taking trophies home. The guys in the chase, that's all about points for them. They got to be in the points, they got to be conservative, but at the same time, they've got to win. So how do you be conservative and win when the guy next to you doesn't have to be conservative? All he has to do is win. That's the quandary with the chase, and that's the hard part. Sometimes you're out of the chase, the guy's running for the win. Do you take him out? What do? Do you try to beat him? Who knows? When it comes down to it at the end of the year, whether you're in the chase or whether you're out of the chase, it's all about the trophies. And the guy who has the most trophies at the end of this chase is going to be your champion. That's the Napa Good Stuff.
I tell you, that's good stuff, Kyle Petty. And I tell you, if I'm a Kyle Busch or I'm a Kevin Harvick, somebody's not in the chase, or Clint Boyer, if I get up front, if I can put extra pressure on a guy that's in the chase and I can be more aggressive than him, I take advantage of that.
Well, I agree with you on that, but I disagree with Kyle. I mean, Kyle says the guy with the most trophies wins the chase. We saw Tony Stewart win 2 championships and never won a race. Nope, he didn't win a race the last 10. We have 4 guys that have not won a race this year. They could win the championship. So it's not necessarily you have to win. The way the system's based, if you're consistent, you get these top 5 finishes, you likely could get a guy not win a race this year and win the championship.
And on the same subject of Tony Stewart, remember when he didn't have the pressure on him, he took the fuel gamble at Kansas, and stayed out and won that race. So some of these non-chasers can take these races a little bit differently. And yeah, it's going to be good because you got drivers like Kyle Busch out there who can win anytime in anything. You got to keep it right here on NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. When we come back, Mark Martin wasn't the only person happy to see some chase points being reset. In fact, anyone chasing Kenny Wallace for fantasy picks is happy. Race fans, this is it. The chase is on. 12 drivers, 10 races, and 1 championship. It is the Sprint Cup, and it comes with a big check. It all starts here on the Magic Mile of Loudon, New Hampshire. After Richmond, we have 12, and Denny Hamlin is the driver that comes in with perhaps the most momentum. Tony Stewart was the driver who led us for 13 weeks, and now he finds himself in 2nd place, but not too far behind of Mark Martin. Our top seed now with 4 victories this year. He is the #1 seed in the 2009 chase. But Jimmie Johnson is the man who has hoisted the trophy for 3 consecutive years. If he can do it again, his Hendrick Motorsports team will be the first to ever do that, claim 4 championships in a row. And let's take a look at the numbers as they stand right now. Here are the 5 drivers with multiple wins this season, rounded out by Casey Kane with his road course win and his 2nd win of the season that came at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. 6 through 12 are drivers with 1 or fewer wins. In the situation of Carl Edwards, Ryan Newman, Juan Pablo Montoya, and Greg Biffle, they do not have wins so far this season.
You know, to all the Ford fans out there, we haven't said a whole lot about these guys, this Carl Edwards and Biffle, the Roush camp, but you know what? They have the most wins at New Hampshire. The Roush Fenway group has the most wins. That's hard to believe. So don't underestimate them teams today.
This could be the time that they break out, but anything can happen in this chase format. We heard from Tony Stewart earlier in the show. Doesn't necessarily matter what you do, but in the chase, it matters what everybody around you does.
and Jeff Gordon has locked up the championship.
It's been 8 years since Jeff Gordon won his 4th Cup championship.
For Jeff Gordon, boy, what can you say?
Gordon has a win and 12 top 5s, putting the 24 in good position for a shot at number 5.
Yes, you guys got me on winning in Texas, Jeffrey. You drove just a hell of a race.
He is championship material.
No one has dominated the chase like Jimmie Johnson.
Jimmie Johnson wins his 3rd consecutive NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship.
The 48 is on track to win his 4th championship in a row and own the record for consecutive titles.
Jimmie Johnson becomes a 3-time winner at the Brickyard.
Hell yes, boys!
JJ has 14 chase wins so far and is eager for more.
And the 2005 Nextel Cup Series champion is Tony Stewart.
2-time champ Tony Stewart is primed for a 3rd title.
Tony Stewart has won for the first time as an owner-driver. He does so in Pocono.
Smoke's poised to be the first owner-driver to win a championship since fan favorite Alan Kulwicki took his Underbird all the way in 1992.
There's the checkered flag for Alan. He's the champion for 92.
And while most of the usual suspects have been rounded up, for the first time since the chase began in 2004, Matt Kenseth will have to wait till next year.
3, 2, 1. Wait. Back him up, guys. Back him up. Help him.
Right now, as of this moment, he is out of the chase.
Also missing are Kyle Busch and his 4 wins this season, RCR's perennial chasers Harvick, Burton, and Boyer, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., whose season can be described as tumultuous at best.
Now, I was going to tell you to pit so I can put 4 tires on it right here, but y'all was jabbering, so that's what you get for waiting so late.
However, 2 drivers have risen up and are vying for the championship for the first time. Juan Pablo Montoya and Brian Vickers.
These guys came from outside the top 12. The Red Bull Toyota is in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Checkered flag is out. Mark Martin wins. I can't believe it. Man, that's big. That is big.
Mark Martin's 4 wins have put him atop the leaderboard. Certainly the sentimental favorite, he's ready to put all those close calls.
At the stripe, Kevin Harvick gets it by inches.
And Mark Martin, a bridesmaid once again.
Heartstoppers.
Mark Martin just blew up. He was only 1 point ahead of Dale Earnhardt coming into this race, and as a result of going out, he will finish 3rd.
And championship runs behind him.
Mark Martin gave it a gallant run here today, as he has all season long.
It's a tough one to lose. We got beat by the best.
And walk off with his first title.
Let the chase begin.
The 2009 chase for the Sprint Cup starts now.
You know, you got to give Mark Martin credit. 4 times this guy's got 2nd in this championship. But you know what? He's the fans' favorite. There's no question. I'm pulling for Mark too. But I'm going to tell you why I think Mark will be the guy that could win this thing. The discipline. I watched him. I watch other teams make mistakes. Michigan comes to mind. He knew that if he pushed that car, he'd run out of gas. But he said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's the discipline you need to win a championship. Raced against many guys. That's the most disciplined driver in the garage area.
As of today, crew chief Chad Knaus will have yet another thing to add to his racing resume. He will become the only crew chief to be in all chase races. That happens this afternoon, but as of right now, Chad Knaus has our Sunoco pit strategy of the week.
Here we are in Loudon this weekend, guys, and everybody's been anticipating this weekend, the first race of the chase, and it's going to be a mixed bag this week, I can promise you that. You've got 300 laps, so it's really a short race, and you can go almost 80 laps on a Sunoco fuel run, so ultimately you only have to stop 3 times. Well, since you only stop that few times, it's very difficult to get your car dialed in if you don't start right at the top. The 42 car took full advantage of it with a great qualifying effort. A lot of other guys are scattered amongst the field, but one thing I can promise you, at the end, all the fast guys will be at the front.
Chad, thanks a lot for that Sunoco pit strategy of the week. After we're done here on race day, in about 8 minutes or so, you can tune over to ABC for full coverage from ESPN on the New Hampshire Motor Speedway today at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We'll have 300 laps of beating and banging, and somebody may come out of here with one huge step closer to the 2009 championship.
Next week, the boys head to one of NASCAR's toughest tracks for Chase Race number 2. Can Biffle defend his fall title and climb up the Chase standings? Or will Johnson make it 2 in a row at the Monster Mile? Live from Dover, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
NASCAR Race Day is built by the Home Depot. Visit homedepot.com. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Brought to you in part by Wrangler, proud sponsor of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Wrangler, real, comfortable jeans. And by Cheerios, good for the heart.
By the Home Depot with John, Jimmy, Kenny, too, Hermie and Wendy, the race day crew, talking about everything under the sun, laughing loud and having fun. Before the race is the place to be. They're gonna cover your need for speed. Hey, hey, it's race day, stars and stripes and high octane. Hallelujah, bow your heads and pray. Loudon, New Hampshire, the chase is on the Magic Mile. Mark, Tony, Jeff, and Jimmy, Casey, Kurt, Brian, and Denny, Carl, Ryan, Juan, and Greg. They're gonna battle head to head. 10 races to the end. Drop the flag, let the fighting begin. Hey, hey, it's race day. Stars and stripes and high octane. Hallelujah, bow your heads and pray. RVs, crew chiefs, every fan upon your seat. I love it when I see that black man wave. Bring your it's race day. Race
Well, we have reset the fantasy picks as well as the chase is on here too, and by virtue of Kenny's 3 wins, he totaled more second-place finishes than Wendy, so he gets to go first. Hermie picks ahead of Jimmy just because, or no, actually really because he had more second-place finishes.
Oh, come
Analysts
on.
can pick any driver, including drivers that earned a win in the regular season, and if you pick a winner, you can't pick him for the rest of the time. Now, since Kenny Wallace is celebrating his anniversary, the 25th one, Rutledge Wood is going to make his pick for him. That's nice of you, Rut.
Oh, boys, this is so exciting. Since Kenny's not here, let me see if I can do
This
right.
scares me.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
Ready?
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
You gotta say
Hold
Earnhardt.
on. There's string. It's right there, right? Is that?
Oh, that's scary.
Earnhardt.
Rutledge,
This
who's
is so
his pick?
exciting. I'm a race car driver.
And you got a brother
I'm
Rusty.
Kenny Wallace.
And you got a brother Rusty.
That's right. I'm going to pick the guy who's going to win today. He won last weekend. Denny Hamlin, number 11. That's what Kenny told me. Happy anniversary, buddy.
One driver and one crew chief have made every chase, and who is that? It's Jimmie Johnson and Chad Knaus, the 48 team, and I'm sticking with what I know. I think they're going to get to victory lane today and start off this chase on a great note. The 48 is going to gain some bonus points, and I will gain a 4th championship. It's going to be a 4-peat for the 48 and Wendy. Johnny.
Thank you, Mrs. Obvious. The guy who's going to win this one is out of the box today. It's going to be Martin Truex Jr. in the number 1 car, and I'll tell you why. He's driving the same paint scheme that Wendy Venturini's dad, Bill Venturini, had on his race car from '89 to '91. That's only one reason. The other reason is he's a great driver and he can win.
Well, yeah, I'm going next, and since I'm filling in for Kenny, I somewhat feel I'm the voice of the fans. Done a little bit of polling around the stage.
Oh,
they tell me I should pick Kyle Busch to win.
Wow. Well, let me tell you what. Since you got I Love Poker, you took a Busch, I'm going to raise you a Busch. I'm taking the 2 car of Kurt Busch. He's got 3 wins here. He's going to make it 4 today, Johnny.
Okay, let's quickly go back to Wendy Venturini.
I want to show you what's going on in the garage. You know, going to the chase, they got to be prepared. You check out the 99 pit box. They have the spare splitter here. But check out their teammate, or excuse me, their neighbor on pit road of Casey Kane. Steve, come around here with me. Okay, guys, check out the spare parts for the 9 car of Casey Kane. He's got splitters and nose pieces, crush panels. They're all laid out, they're all labeled, and they're all zip tied to the fence. Talk about being prepared, the 9 team, prepared for a championship. Johnny?
Wendy, thanks a lot. Sometimes you're only as good as your plan B, but in Sprint Cup racing, you need a plan B, C, D, E, F if you want to win a championship. The chase is on here in Loudon, New Hampshire. We'll see you tonight in Victory Lane with the first winner of the chase. So long.